Hey, everybody. This is the full Vantage Podcast. Today is a very special episode. We're all going to get blinded. I'm excited about this. Adi is here, and we're going to be talking all things Blynd, all things Adi, everything. Just the story, man. Just everything you're doing. I want to learn. I can't wait. So this is how I view it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, this is where you've been on a journey right now, and you have taken this concept that's really, really valuable and really, really important to think about. Really just this blind concept and maybe even the huge why. And you've merged it with like the things that you like when it comes to fashion, when it comes to clothing. So elaborate on that for me. Just really quick as we start, like give us the like what is Blynd? I want to like go a bunch of different directions with you, so we're just gonna go. If that's okay.
Let's do it, dude.
Man, I couldn't be more excited about this convo, and I'm in the lavender rain jacket.
You look great, dude.
I love it, man.
Love it.
I love it. So if you're into fashion, if you're into streetwear, if you want to be a part of a brand that is making a difference, that is what I have read and we've talked about, and is what kind of Blynd is about. So let's begin there. Where did this begin for you?
Yeah, definitely. So this started 7-8 years ago. I was a financial advisor at the time, very much just like questioning a bunch of things in my life, purpose, what I want to do, where am I going to be type thing. And during this time, my mother was going through a divorce, my aunt had breast cancer, and all of a sudden my cousin went blind out of nowhere. So all these things are happening. I'm complaining about my life, and I'm like, man, here are these people here just going through things, and I'm watching my mom go through her divorce and coming out the other side. I'm watching my aunt beat cancer. I'm watching my cousin go blind and still being optimistic. And it really just started me thinking, like, what's your why? And there's the whole Simon Sinek, what's your why thing. And this was very, prevalent at the time. And I thought of all these people, and I'm like, man, it's almost like they're blind to their obstacles. And I was sleeping and woke up at like 3 a.m, call it divine intervention, call it whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to start a lifestyle apparel brand. It's going to be called Blynd. It's going to be all about your why. Your why in life keeps you blind to whatever obstacles you're facing. And, my cousin and his story and just all the things that were happening at that time were really the push to get me there. And this thing's gone through many iterations, from how the logo was designed, from coloring to which route are we going to take? Are we going to go streetwear? Are we going to go athleisure? And we're still fine-tuning some of that stuff right now. But as far as, the catalyst to start the brand, it was all those things happening at one time.
Can you speak to the Blynd making the obstacles, like you don't see obstacles anymore?
Yeah.
And you stay focused, because that's a unique spin and twist. I've never heard that. And I understand it. I love it. Where did that come from? Like, or what does that even mean to you? Like, I guess obviously those 3 people in your life were going through some really difficult things, but like, how does somebody get to that point maybe?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely have to be broken down a lot. You need to find yourself. There's things along those lines. But I think for me, something like Blynd is seen as a setback, and I see it something as like a superpower, And it's so funny. The irony of it is when I was 3-4 years old, my mom used to volunteer at the Anchor School of the Blind, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me, stuff like this coming full circle, but it's like, how can I put a positive spin on something that is seen as negative? How can I turn it into a superpower? How if somebody can live with a purpose, something bigger than themselves, with a why, that's why the why is very large compared to everything else, right? Can they stay blind to obstacles, to adversity, to the things that are, that they feel like they can't overcome? And for me, it's like when I look down at this logo, it's like, all right, I know my why, right? And I look at a lot of brands out there and I'm like, they're cool, but do they mean anything? Right? So I wanted this just to mean something. And when people put it on, it's like their superhero cape. So it's where I kind of got with a lot of this stuff.
Okay, I love that. My brain is like firing on all cylinders right now, because it's interesting. You made the logo mean what the mission is.
Yeah.
If the why is the biggest thing, it's tough to even see the other letters, which is kind of the concept. If your goal and your source is the biggest thing that you can see, then everything else just gets a little bit smaller. How do you teach somebody that? How would you teach somebody that? If someone's like, oh, all my obstacles, I can't get anywhere, where do you begin with them?
I mean, for me personally,
Sure.
I can tell you a little bit more about my background, how I grew up, where I grew up, things along those lines. Born and raised in Denver, single teen mom, and by no means is this like a victim story, right? But we didn't come from much. I saw my mom work really hard, didn't have a father in my life, right? And I think for me to get to this place of having a why is like, you need to find yourself. And oftentimes finding yourself, you need to die a few times, And I think for me, so much of my identity was rooted in being this poor Latino boy from the hood, from a single teen mom. And while I felt that there was power in that story, at the same time, I was just this victim, right? And so, in order to get to this place, in order to find your why, you need to find yourself. How do you find yourself? You need to die 1,000 times. What is dying 1,000 times like? You need to experience things. You need to question things. You need to explore. And so for me, I went on a whole healing journey, did extensive therapy, did some travel, and out the other side of that, I definitely found my why.
Oh, man. Okay. So if someone is trying to find their why and they're sitting right there, what would you say to that person is the best thing for them to do? What's the one thing for them to do?
Go to therapy. I think therapy is super important. It's being really introspective, right? Because we don't understand how far the rabbit hole goes. So I did 5 years of extensive therapy, did EMDR, so it's a very heavy trauma-based therapy. And when you get to the bottom of that, you start to feel like, oh my God, like I was only ever reacting to the world. I was never in charge. I was only ever a byproduct of my trauma, right? And as you start to shed more and more of those things off, it's like, oh man, I am this person. I am enough, right? So I think the common theme that most people feel, and, we live in a society and time where everything is comparison driven, where, people don't feel valued. Like everything is dehumanized. AI is coming in and taking over. Like there's all this fear, and so many people are looking at themselves like, who am I? Do I matter? And I think the deeper you dive into that, you do matter, you are enough, and that's the byproduct of the healing journey. So I think therapy is important. I think community, friends, I think doing creative stuff like this definitely helps bring that spirit alive, because we've become so disconnected from that.
Would you say that a lot of things can be therapeutic?
Totally.
You know what I mean? That can bring you to a point of like calmness and steadiness, to where you understand yourself better. What are some other things that you do other than what's something that you do that's unique to you to kind of recenter yourself?
Definitely. I'm a part of a Kriya Yoga Fellowship, so do a lot of meditation. I mean, I have a 3-month-old baby, so I've been slacking a bit these past few months.
Congrats, man.
I appreciate you.
3 months old.
Yeah, he's almost 4 months. Yeah.
Let's go. You are not sleeping a lot.
No, well, I'm sleeping. My fiance, she is not. But no, meditation. I play soccer a couple times a week. It makes me feel like a little boy, and I'm out there just running. Definitely do that. Try to be mindful of the things that I eat and like the things that I'm consuming. I'm very much, everything is energy. There's positive, there's negative. What are the things that I want to put into my sphere? So as far as being aligned and on my mission and what my why is, it's things like that.
Man, that's so good. Okay, so I'd love to shift just really quick. I love that. I think you're doing a great job when it comes to developing something, because would you say that you're where you want to be when it comes to the brand?
The brand? No, not at all.
Okay, great.
No.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah.
I was guessing you would, because you have a vision for where you want to go. How many, it's been 7 years, is that right?
7 years.
Okay, 7 years. How many iterations has Blynd gone through in the past 7 years, you think?
1,000.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. So the creative process is never ending, right? And so much that we spoke about earlier, and maybe this was off camera, is like so much of the brand is me, and so much of me had gone into the brand. And I think the ethos of the brand early on was almost like this broken version of myself. Was Blynd something to be seen, heard, and validated? Yes, we have the powerful story. Yes, we have the why. But was this something that I needed in order for me to feel fulfilled, right? And the more that I became fulfilled within myself, the more that Blynd started to change. Who's our target audience? Who am I in service to, right? I think the main shift there was like, who am I in service to? And so I think for me, this thing is constantly evolving. It will constantly evolve. I think dreaming bigger is honestly something that I need to do because I got to a point where I was like down on my luck. Like sales weren't what I wanted them to be. People weren't as hyped about it, right? And don't get me wrong, I go out and people are like, "What the heck is that?" And I tell them the story. They love it. They go to the website and whatnot. But it just wasn't where I want to be. So I was very down on myself. And I think the more that I pick myself up out of that space, the more that there's excitement around it. The more there's like, I know exactly who my team is going to be. I know exactly how we're going to market. I know exactly. So we're just getting more and more to that place, which is awesome.
What are the handful of things that shocked you that you learned? You were like, "Ooh, I wasn't expecting to learn that."
Yeah.
Do you have a few of those?
Yeah. Nobody cares. Literally, it's one of those things that nobody cares. Like you can think you have the most beautiful baby in the world, and somebody can look at your baby and say like, "That's an ugly baby," And so no one has come up and be like, "Oh, your brand sucks. It's this, that, whatever." I definitely have friends who joke and they're like, "I'm going to make a brand called C, type thing, just to mess around with me, type thing." But it's you're really alone in a lot of these things, and it's super important to build those friends, those community, those people that can help you push this vision and make it bigger, while also just being authentic to yourself. Like I'm somebody who doesn't like to ask for help. This is a one-man army, one-man job. Like I created everything by myself: website, logo, clothing, and so yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, but
No, you did. So nobody cares. You're gonna have to do a lot of it by yourself and learn from the fire.
Yeah.
Is there a few more things that maybe came around the corner that you were like, just as others are in a creative process? I think it's important that like you're going to have to iterate a lot and reiterate a ton. That's something that I've learned in every creative process that I've gone through. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the goal. This is how we're going to get there." And I'm like, "Oh man, here's what I need to do first." What would you say maybe if you could even maybe give a few more things that you learned?
Yeah.
But I would love to also, like, if you were going to say, "Hey, here's a process that I learned that you could maybe even take and run with yourself." I would call this season, season 1 was titled blank, season 2. Like, what are a few different spots where I would say like, "Oh, this is where you've got to learn this. And if you don't get this, you can't move forward." Is there anything like that
definitely.
that you've learned along the way?
Season 1, don't quit your job. Right.
There's
there's a job for bills and there's a job for thrills. So I was a financial advisor and was working that job, had the inspiration for Blynd, and I felt that I had enough courage to go out and do it. And I was building in the background, and when I was ready to launch, went and did it, and had a whole launch party, had friends and family there, did a couple thousand in sales, and I was on cloud 9, and then it was crickets. And then I was like, "Oh my God, what do I need to do now? I don't know Google ads. I don't know Facebook Marketplace, or not Facebook Marketplace. I don't know Facebook, right? Fiverr. What was Fiverr at the time? So, going to that place, I had to be really resourceful, but I ended up living in my grandparents' basement, and I was Uber driving. And I was doing Uber in order to make connections and to network and talk about the brand. And needless to say, it's like the money dries up quick. You don't want to live in your grandparents' house any longer. So I would say there's so many creatives out there that are like, "Oh my God, they have so much passion and so much drive for this thing," and they quit their job. And then before you know it, you're having to backtrack. You're doing this thing, which is great. You get to go all in, but it's like, keep building on the side. You have your 9 to 5, and then your passion project is your 5 to 9. So that would be season 1, chapter title. That's the most important thing.
I love that title. There's a job for bills and there's a job for thrills. I think that is a great title. Have you written that book yet?
No. I'm in the process of writing something.
Hey, that's TBD.
TBD.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a few? So yeah, I love that. That's a huge domino because that domino keeps you in the game. Mm-hmm. If you can't stay in the game, guess what? You can't play.
Yeah.
and the object is to keep playing the game,
Mm-hmm.
like to stay in it, to keep iterating, to keep creating. So like, is there a few other things that you'd be like, oh, like I don't know if this is maybe the next one, but this is definitely one of those dominoes.
One of those dominoes? Well, I mean, it's just like fashion itself is like it's very saturated. Yeah. Everybody wants to have a brand, you know.
Tell me.
I think for me, I started to have this. I wouldn't even say it's like a conflict of interest, but I'm looking at, you know, all of these industries that impact the environment. And I'm not these crazy, like, I love the environment type. Like, I recycle. I do my part. Like, I try to do what I can, right? But I was just saw, like, the fashion industry, especially fast fashion. It's, like, it's horrible for nature. Like, it's, like, slave labor, things along those lines. And so I started to be really conflicted. I started to have to find different suppliers and manufacturers. I had to start doing way more due diligence. And so I think with some of those things, it's like, this is just all a part of the journey. Like, I didn't know any of these things. I didn't know anyone who ever started a fashion brand. I didn't know what I was doing with it. You know, I went to Catholic school growing up, so we wore uniforms every day. I remember going into Payless with my mom and like Goodwill to get pants. And I remember I was just like, for me, like clothing is one of those things, like, you know, some people's mind, body, soul, other people are like mind, body, clothes. And so for me, I was like, this is going to be a way that I express myself. But no, that iteration happens all the time. There's so much competition. How do you stay relevant in today's time? So much of that is attention. You know, how can I pry for your attention? Whether that be TikTok, whether that be Instagram, whether that's, and I think with that creative process, it's, can I post every day? Can I post every day by myself doing this? You know, who are going to come model for me, right? I had to teach myself photography because I went to a photographer and they're like, this is going to be $400. And I'm like, I'm going to buy a $400 camera and take a photo. So being resourceful is another domino.
Ooh, okay. If someone needs to be resourceful, they have to learn They have to learn a lot of things. Yeah. What are the few skills that somebody needs to maybe not be an expert in, but to be adequate in? They need to know a little bit because you got to be, you kind of have to know a little bit about a lot of things. What would you say are those skills? You say like, hey, somebody's listening. They want to start a fashion brand. They maybe have a why. What are the skills that someone needs?
Yeah,
that you
definitely
would say you need to be somewhat good at this.
Yeah.
Or know about it.
Content creation.
Okay.
Whether that's even from your iPhone, right? Like nothing needs to be perfect anymore. You got people on TikTok that have millions of views and they're literally front-facing camera, right? So I think for me, so much of being a perfectionist is I would delay putting stuff out there because it had to be perfect, right? So you need to know about content creation. You need a laptop. I think that's super important, right? You need to know how to use tools like Fiverr. You need to know how to use something like Shopify, leveraging those resources out there. But it's like, you know, you need to learn so many things. So it's how do you start on third base rather than first base, right? And getting to that place, it's reading, it's having mentors, it's learning from people. And so, yeah, I would say the most important thing, though, is like learn how to create content and like know how to make friends. Those are important things. I have like 5 friends, but
well,
6, 7, 8 now.
Hey, come on.
Dro's back there.
You better throw me in that, Adi. I'm here for it now. Can't get rid of me. So I think something that's really on my mind for you, like for this conversation, is okay, great. Like you're here now, and as you grow and as you look to the future, what is the skill that's going to start separating you from into this next version of Blynd? What's the skill that you're working on? I'm really curious at that. Like what are you honing in on to be an amazing creator, brand owner, whatever? What's the one that you're like, this is the one for me right now?
Yeah, it's confidence, communication, and organization, right? So you have to be organized. So if you're working a 9 to 5, your 5 to 9, you know, has to be so perfect, right? And not to be a perfectionist or whatever, but I mean, it's like you have to maximize your time as much as you can. And I think for me, it's just confidence, you know? So much of my self and the iteration in the brand was, I'm not enough. Is this thing going to make me enough? And so many people need to be seen, heard, and validated. So many creators and artists were so eccentric and we're loud and we want to be seen. And once you heal through that, like, you will be seen, and you'll be seen in the right way. And so I think for me, it's having that confidence. Communication it literally gets you from where you want to go, or where you're at, to where you want to be. So it's really honing in on those skills, and hopefully I'm doing okay right now.
No, you're doing a phenomenal job. I'm loving this. There's so many different directions that I'm like, oh wow, I'd love to hear more about that. I'd love to hear more about that. And the one that's I think's really valuable is that confidence piece. That confidence piece is very, very attractive because, that person knows something that I don't. That person has something that I have. That person can help me get to where I want to be. And I see, in a lot of ways, you wanting to serve the people that are a part of this brand. Is that true? Like, what does that look like? Okay, for me to be a part of the Blynd crew, what does that look like? If I wear this, if I purchase a hat, if I purchase the sunnies, hey, if anyone wants to know, the sunglasses are where it's at with Blynd. If I don't know, do you still sell those online?
Yeah, they're still online.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't gone through the book yet. If you want to buy anything, buy everything. But check out the sunnies. Oh my gosh, I just pulled out a pair today, and I was like, oh my goodness, those are fire. Anyways, so if I want to be a part of the crew, what does that mean for me?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm going to throw this back at you.
Please.
What's your why? And I can tell you mine if I'm going to buy you a little bit of time, right?
No, yeah. So I have a lot of whys. I have a ton of them. One of them is, and I've had this one for a while. I don't talk about this one a lot, but I think the guys here and others that I've gotten to share my life with would understand. I love to help other people's dreams become reality. And I think if you can be a friend that does that, then you will, one, find friends. Two, you'll be able to pick up the dream for your own life. If you're struggling to have like your why, get behind someone else's and you'll know what it takes to make it happen. And out of you serving them, you will then be served. And you will find what you're looking for. You'll know what you like. You'll know what you care about. You know how you tick. And, man, that's one of mine.
I love it, dude. That's awesome.
And then you can build communities no matter where you are in the world.
Yeah.
So, I'm a part of the crew.
No, you are a part of the crew, and that's what it is, right?
Come on.
So this brand itself is supposed to provoke that thought. It's supposed to be a talk point for us to build common ground or, that commonality. And so for me, I think that's beautiful, one. And two, my why is to be an expression of love at all times, right? Who am I in service to? How can I give back? How can this brand be something so much bigger than myself, right? And how can this brand, when somebody puts this on their body, they're like, man, I feel like a superhero. I do matter. I do care. And so, I love that, dude. But that's what it is. That's the whole thing this brand is. When I had visions about this early on, and I think this was during a time where, and politically there's always stuff happening and, there's always chaos and whatever. But I just envisioned like someone who is unfamiliar with someone else who may not even like them, right? And they both walk in the grocery store and they're both wearing something Blynd. And they think to themselves like, that guy has a why. That gal has a why. And so, that's how you be a part of the crew, man. You just live for something big, something bigger than yourself. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So I have a friend I just thought of this. I love that because there's so many play off of words. There's so many play off of logo or look. Like the why's huge, right? And so like, he has a why. He's a part of the why crew. And there's a friend of mine that I grew up with who he's older than me, but he's close to my family and then family friends. He is blind. And the dude like shot a deer blind. Like the dude goes hunting blind. Like the dude like he there's nothing that holds him back. And he was running for he was running for like some kind of political office or some kind of, maybe it was like city council or something like that. And his running mate said, talked about how, started taking shots at his blindness. And the media or the people that came and started asking him questions about like, hey, like, what do you think about this? And he was like, well, I don't have to see to know that guy has no vision. And so what was cool was he was getting at, like, I have more vision than he does, and I don't need to see. I don't need to see physically. Because I can see a future that doesn't exist yet. I can see where we all need to go. And, that maybe wasn't a direct quote because I can't think of it exactly, but the point is clear.
Yeah.
It's like, well, just because I can't physically see doesn't mean I don't have vision.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. That's
and
powerful.
I love that junk. Like that is, that gives me chills. I'm like, oh man, yes, that's exactly right. Because so many people that can physically see don't have vision for their life or for a better future or for other people. And as you think about where you're going, what are some of the offshoots or impacts that you're trying to make specifically? Because I think there a part of your story is epilepsy as well. Is that right?
So epilepsy, there's a component of that. So
if you don't mind, like hit a bunch of things that you're doing that are like serving as well.
Yeah, definitely. So to piggyback off your story about having vision and whatnot, I have this whole creative concept that I want to film as far as marketing goes. So with Blynd, we move into athleisure, right? Yoga wear type thing. I'm big into meditation, so that's a piece of me. Having Blynd yoga cushions, you're in an all-white room, camera zooming in on someone. They close their eyes, you have audio over, and it says, sometimes we see better when our eyes are closed. Blind, it hits the screen type thing. So it's sometimes, we need to close our eyes. Sometimes we need to go within. Sometimes we need to, pray or provoke, have that extra thought type thing. And, that really resonates with what you just said, because I think so much of vision has nothing to do with your eyes. And as far as offshoots of the brand and some of the things that we're doing, the epilepsy component, so everything with Blynd, purple is kind of like our color. My sister has epilepsy. My grandfather has epilepsy. They're both a part of my why. And so having that purple and that color it's my tribute to them, right? So purple's a color for epilepsy awareness. So that's a piece of it. On top of that, I have philanthropic endeavors that we want to partner with certain organizations. I want to create a nonprofit called Shit Shower Shave. Sorry, excuse my language. I don't know if I'm able to say that. But there's so many people out here that don't have, and it's like after a long day, there's nothing better than just like showering or grooming, right? And you see some of these videos online of people cutting the homeless hair type thing. And so I think it'd be super cool to have a facility to where, people can go to the bathroom, cut their hair, and take a shower and just feel good type thing. So some of the philanthropic things on that front. I also have an offshoot brand. It's called Hey Dude, I Love You. It's a space for men to heal and grow. I think there's a lot of men hurting out there right now. I think there's a lot of people that are aimless or don't feel loved. So this is kind of a personal passion project that I'm working on the other side. But these are all offshoots that connect to the Blynd mission.
Hey Dude, I Love You. Is that public knowledge yet, or is that just something that you're working on?
No, it's all back burner. It's whiteboards. Yeah. It's notes.
Got you.
Website domain is secured.
Okay, good. I did.
No, we have all, but nothing is live at this point. It's all in the building process, but something that I'm super excited about.
Okay, awesome. How if as people want to connect with you, what are some ways that they can connect to like make sure that they like, hey, I'm interested in that, or they're in the Denver, Colorado area, or wherever they are, and they want to follow anything that you're doing. Where would they do that at?
Well, on a social media break right now, so my social media is not up, deactivated,
cool.
Right? So I'm doing a little bit of cleanse right now, but it would be Adi Adopaca. That would be my Instagram. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I don't know if I'm going to put my phone number out here, but Yeah.
Probably not.
Phone, email. No, definitely not going to do that.
But then also Blynd website's up, and it's so like they could go
blindlimited.com.
There it is.
Yeah,
Cool.
Blynd Limited, great place to go.
BLYND.
Yeah, BLYND.
Which is you won't forget the Y anymore.
No.
In Blynd after this. Okay, so as you look to the future, and you think about your past, something that I think is really important that we maybe hit is if you could go back and you had to do it all again, what are some things that you would maybe adjust or change? What are some things that you would maybe adjust or change if you had to go back and do it again?
I would relinquish control, right? So like I said early on, it was, hey, look at me, look at some of the stuff that I've done, look at this thing that I've built. And I think over time I've realized just how important having a team is, right? It's I don't want to be the best, and even asking like, hey, if I'm on Instagram or this, that, and whatever, it's, there's a point in this iteration where it's like you want to be the actor, and now it's like I want to be director. I want to be behind the scenes. I don't, my face is on camera right now, right? But like I kind of want to be in the shadows type thing, and I think for the longest time I frowned having other people involved with this. Are they going to infringe on my vision? Is this going to disrupt anything? Is my business going to get stolen or taken from me type thing? And I think the more that I've gone through this, it's like this isn't a one-man job, right? Because if I'm doing photography and videography and I'm building a website, that's taking away my time from building the brand, from making connections, from pushing it to retail or, wherever we need to be. So I think it's just like building a massive team. Not a massive team, but building a team of people that are better than you, right? If you're a better speaker than me, maybe you're the face of it, right? If this guy knows marketing better than me, he's going to do the marketing. So relinquish control, I think, would be huge.
Well, I mean, a massive team is definitely more than one.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like if you go from 1 to 3, it's like 300%, 300% growth or whatever, or 1 to 4. So like that's exciting, man.
Yeah.
Like I think as people relinquish control, I don't know if this is relevant or if this is helpful. As people think about relinquishing control, how would you spin that? Because that may sound negative. How would you spin that to like encourage someone to begin to do that where they are?
Well, my uncle, who's pretty successful, he's like, do you want 1% of a billion or 100% of nothing? And that really resonated with me, where I was just like, man, like, what's the worst that can happen? And I'm a student. I'm a constant learner. Like, I love learning from life and other people, from you, from anyone. I've told people that, I've learned the same from a janitor that I have from a CEO, right? Both have the most, experience could be found anywhere type thing. So I think it's like, put your ego aside, put your pride aside, and just know that there are other people out there that want your best interest at heart.
Do you want 1% of a billion or 100% of nothing?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. What do you think is the one thing that you're learning right now?
Learning right now?
Yeah. What's the one thing you're learning? I know you were talking about like ownership, and you were talking about like organization.
Yeah.
But what's maybe like a super micro nuance that you'd be like, hey, here's something I'm learning, like maybe this past month that I think, we could all be maybe learning.
I think it's patience. I mean, I have a kid. It's a common theme in my life, right? I have a fiance. Like, we're going through new things ourselves. So it's, how can I be patient? And I think so much with this brand early on, why there was so much heartbreak is like, why am I not the overnight success? Why isn't this happening to me right now? Stuff takes time. It's the 10-year overnight success, right? So for me, it's like, how can we be patient in a time where I have access to everything on my phone? I click, I scroll, I find everything I need. I go to AI, I get what I need type thing. Can you be patient? Can you have delayed gratification? And so I think right now, for me personally, it's everything's all right.
What's your definition of patience?
My definition of patience?
Yes.
Just being still. Just
okay.
Just being receptive, right?
Yes.
Like, don't force things. Let them come to you. I didn't reach out to you, right? And this is stuff that I care about. This is stuff that I'm passionate about, right? So when you're in that receiving mode, you don't block it off, right? It's like stepping on a hose. The water's not going to come out. So it's like you remove yourself. It's like, okay. And you just relieve so much stress and the worry.
Do you think patience is more about letting things flow and figuring out what to do between where you are and where you want to be?
Yeah, 100%. But I think in that time of patience, it's you're not being distracted or
Yes.
inundated with all these other things,
Yes.
right? It's what is my mission? What is my end goal, right? Let's keep that. Someone said something, it's like keep your eyes on the road, right? But your head in the clouds type thing, right? So always have your vision, your dream, your passion, whatever, like in your mind, but it's like you need to stay focused on the things that are in front of you right now. So for me, is it building this massive brand right now? Or is it like going and taking 20 minutes to hang out and play with my son or hang out with my fiance type thing, And is that 20 minutes going to make or break my vision? No, and it's okay, right? So I think it's don't be distracted. Have your eye on the prize, right? But
with somebody who is aggressive and an entrepreneur and getting after it and going, I think it's really important for people to know, like, hey, like this takes a lot of energy. What you do takes a ton of energy. I want to commend you on that. And 7 years to commit to, Blynd Limited. I think it's really valuable for us as if we're going to try and create something. Would you do it for 7 years if no one knew about it?
Yeah.
Like would you do this? Would you do this if anyone listened? Would you do this if no one bought it? Would you do this? Has this helped you no matter what? And it's like, I may keep doing it. I may do it a little bit different, but I would keep doing what I'm doing, because what has happened is your purpose is fleshed out. You've learned so much in the doing the thing and not waiting. What would you say to somebody who's trying to make it perfect before they ever start?
Yeah, it's never going to work, right? It's never going to happen. And I had to learn that the hard way. And I would argue that, 3 of the 7 years have been that perfection. And it's like, this doesn't need to be perfect. Is your product good? Is your message powerful? Is your story great? Yes. Okay. Then move forward. Do you care about this? Are you passionate? And so, I mean, to your question too, would people do it for 7 years? And it's like, how much do you love this? How bad do you want it? And what do you want at the end of the day? Right? Because I think so many people want the status or the shiny things or those are all the added things, right? Is this something that's going to make you fulfilled? And in that fulfillment, is that going to spread onto others? Similar to your why, you're going to lift someone else up and you're going to get lifted up at the same time type thing. So
rising tide raises all ships. So if we can all grow, if we can all see the things that we want to come into our life, well, then together we can go somewhere. Like the tide's going to rise and we're going to experience and we're going to grow. And I love patience. I just was reminded of a definition that I liked about it that someone was like working with that is aggressive, or I actually can't remember exactly where this come from, but I'll get the definition. It's having somewhere you want to go and a vision of who you want to be and figuring out what you need to do to keep you on that path. Just what do you need to do right now to keep you going, to keep you healthy, to keep you focused? And patience is, here's what I need to be doing on a consistent basis. And it's only a matter of time. And I love being able to say that. It's just a matter of time. Like, we'll see. And then that helps me, like, that I may have a different outcome, but at least I know and I can determine who I am today. And I can enjoy that person. And I can be proud of him. And if I didn't do that every day, I may end up there. But I may not know it exactly, but I'm going to end up somewhere that I genuinely want to be, and I just didn't line it up right. Or, you figuring out that you want to play the background a little bit. Well, that's maybe a little bit new, but that's maybe iteration, 990, but like, wanting the team or like wanting to serve others. I think a lot of times we learn to serve the group of people we don't know when we learn to serve the people that we do know.
I like that.
And it's like, don't begin where you're not. Begin where you are, because guess what? That's the only place you can start.
Yeah.
Oh, man, then everything gets a lot more clear and way more simple. and you serving the people in your family, you letting them know that they're your inspiration, wow. Doesn't that keep them in the game as well? Doesn't that keep them encouraged and going? As you think about the questions that you ask, I think if you have anyone who has a creative vision, you need to have a really good question that you ask yourself, and a set of questions, and a set of new questions that you guys keep asking yourself questions, because it keeps the who am I sharp, where am I going sharp. Questions make things clear, and a lot of times the best way to ask questions is to close your eyes, which is something I love. What is that question for you right now that maybe we all should be asking ourselves, that you have either asked or are asking yourself?
Yeah, it's who am I in service to? Always, right? I've lived the majority of my life for others and the people around me, like I'm a firm believer in reincarnation. I delve into a bunch of spiritual practices, right? But it's like, I've been here, done that, right? How can I be in service to the people around me? How can I create something? How can I not leave a legacy for legacy's sake, but to ensure that my people are taken care of? And that's my family. Those are my friends. That's the Blynd community. That's, those are the things that matter. And so I think for any entrepreneur out there who's going to ask that question, it's what's your why? What are you doing this for? Who am I in service to? So appreciate you asking me that.
No, you're welcome. Who am I in service to? And to kind of wrap it up, who are you in service to? Just make it real clear for the future. Who are you trying to serve in the future?
I mean, not to be so grandiose, but
Sure.
it's like the world, right? So, how can I be an expression of love? How can this brand promote positivity? How can it bring people together? How can people become more inspired, right? And I think that becomes the domino effect. So who am I in service to? The world, right? As cliche as that sounds. On a micro level, it's my friends, it's my family. It's, growing up with a single teen mom, it's like, I'm going to buy you a home, right? I still think of it to this day. I still have visions of the warehouse and the things that we're going to do, and my son running around, and my wife super happy because she gets her Birkin bag or whatever, she likes stuff like that. Those type things. I didn't even know what a Birkin bag was until I started listening to more hip hop, and I was like, oh, that's a very expensive bag. It's like a $40,000 bag.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let's put that towards a kid's tuition or something.
That's hilarious. That's so funny. The one thing that I found about questions is if we can start asking better ones, we will start having better conversations, and we'll start building better communities, and because we have stronger, deeper friendships. As you title the book of your life, I know you're not writing. Maybe that you haven't said that you're writing that book, but if you could title the book that has been your life, what would the title be?
That's a good question. What would the title be? It's so funny because I wanted to write a book, and it was going to be Broke Minority in a Recession, how to overcome being a brown boy, which is so funny. And I think now it's like lean into God, lean into something bigger than yourself. I would say lean into God. I am working on a book right now, and that's not the title. But if it's going to be one for my life, it's lean into God, 100%.
Man,
we haven't talked about stuff like that, but that's what I'm most passionate about.
No, dude. If you want to, you can riff on it for a second. But if not, we can shut it down. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that? Is there a tagline?
Is there a tagline?
Yeah.
Lean into God. Fear is not real.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. What about, do you have a design? I'm just kidding.
Do you have a design?
Yeah. Do you have a design yet for it?
I got a design for it, dude. It's all in my mind. No, I just want to appreciate you. Thank you for having me on here, man. I think this is awesome. Your energy is great.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the questions you fielded my way, and would hope to be on here again.
Oh, man. I'm excited for everything Blynd, all the things you're going to be doing. And just like, I've noticed the men's mental health thing, I can't wait for like that as well. Like, man, however we can support, help, be a part, I can't wait for it.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you so much.
Appreciate you, dude.
Man, I love lavender.
Hey, you're swaggy, man.
Man, I
like
am
it.
blind. So thank you, Adi, and thank you guys. This is a Full Vantage Podcast, Blynd episode. Get a why and see what happens. Ask the questions that he's asking. Who are we serving? Where are we going? What are we going to do? And let's see what happens. And let's go together. No more lone wolf stuff. I know it's been said that you can go fast alone, but you can actually go far together. And I think that's kind of what we're always trying to do. Let's stay in it, and let's see what happens. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Catch you later. Peace.